The other thing I think is really cool is seeing digital art or digital fashion tokenized as NFTs. And then behind that, there's a currency that's being staked. So the NFT is actually kind of accruing value because it's earning interest in a DeFi protocol. And there's all sorts of really cool things you can do with that. Like you can redirect the interest to the person who created it so that the creator's constantly getting rewarded no matter how many times the piece is sold on to different people.
Hello to you all. Welcome to yet another episode of NewForum. NewForum is powered by Newcoin Foundation, focused on fostering the expansion of decentralized social applications, also known as Social 3.0, by forming an ecosystem of visionaries, creators, and investors. It provides a safe space for thinkers to communicate, inform, and share ideas in order to ensure the conscious and ethical growth of a new web, embedding the values of care, freedom, and creativity.
And in today's episode, we're super excited and honored to have with us today Isa Killigan, a Web3 specialist in the Fashion and DeFi space, who's worked with several companies such as Aave and the Fabricant. And we can't wait to hear more about her expertise on Web3. Hey, Isa, we are super excited to have you here today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Very happy to be here.
So to start things off, Isa, maybe could you tell us a bit about yourself and also what got you excited about working within Web3?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I'm a bit of like an odd one because my whole career has really been in Web3. I had like one kind of business consulting job before that, but that was just for 3 months. And then I was just dying to get into crypto. But I first got into the whole Web3 space when I moved to Berlin about 3 years ago. And I was doing a master's in public policy at the time. Just kind of started going to different meetups in Berlin. There's a really big scene here, particularly the Ethereum space was kind of like booming here back at the time. So going to different meetups and just getting to know people. And it was really, really cool to me, very inspiring. And I really became very fascinated with NFTs and digital fashion. I guess I kind of approached it from the fashion angle, but then after learning about NFTs and how you could kind of take digital copies of physical fashions was kind of my idea at the time into different worlds like gaming and VR spaces. I thought that was really cool. So I actually ended up co-founding a project kind of doing just that. And I think after that, actually, that's how I got to know Carrie at the Fabricant. I saw him speaking at Berlin Fashion Week. And I recently, actually last week, joined the Fabricant full time. So I'm very excited to be there, but it's been kind of a long story. Thank you.
This is such an amazing journey, you know, to hear that. Like you've been working with the Fabricant and also with Aave, and, you know, seeing a woman like glow within that space and finding her place. I always love to hear these stories, you know, and having the chance to join the space. And I think Berlin is the perfect city for that as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that was one of the biggest parts that really drew me to working in Web3 in general. You know, in Web2, it's a lot more about like hierarchy. And as a young person, especially as like a woman or a minority, you can kind of feel like your voice doesn't matter. It's very dominated by like traditional power structures and everything. So I really like Web3's potential to disrupt all of that. I like how, I think it's really cool how you can be like anon in the space and no one really needs to know who you are or how old you are, what you look like, anything about you. So it really kind of removes all of these barriers to entry and kind of these preconceived biases that get in the way of, I guess, contributing and just kind of like working in general and being part of a space.
Love that.
I really love your enthusiasm and excitement as you speak about the space and all the, you know, the possibilities and, you know, what it's doing and the potential of it, you know, disrupting everything that we want to see improve. And something that always gives me like a unique sense of a person's work is their influences and inspiration. And I'm curious to know what's yours, like what's your inspiration? How did you already shared how you kind of go into the crypto space, but I want to know specifically how you go into the 3D fashion space as well.
I guess it's the biggest inspiration has kind of just been the people around me. And I think that's really cool. There's so much kind of freedom within the space. My first, I guess, proper Web3 job was at Aave. So very DeFi focused, but everyone at Aave was very interested in like digital art collectibles and all sorts of things outside of the decentralized finance space too. And I think what's been the most exciting and kind of inspiring for me this last year is just seeing all of the creatives pour in. That's something that the space is definitely kind of lacking. And now, you have all these like different people and different perspectives coming into Web3. And that's been the most inspiring for me. And also what really drew me to the digital fashion space, just seeing what people come up with. It's all very unique. And I think, it's kind of what you want to see. It's like the ideal virtual world, what you want the metaverse to look like.
That's awesome. I really like that, you're driven by people, and we're doing this for the community. We're doing this for people. So I feel like it's really great that you have that sense, as you get into things, as you do things. So that's pretty awesome.
And also what you said about like how within companies now, everyone can kind of represent their skills and you have really different people, but everyone is kind of open-minded. So that's what I also really can see within our company. And, I just really love that about Web3. And I'm wondering, we talk a lot about decentralization and how, how beneficial it could be for creators, for work in general, the future of work. And I want to know how the idea of decentralization is impacting your work, especially.
Yeah, I think I really like how that's one of the, I guess, foundational pillars of the Web3 space. I really like the idea of decentralized economies, whether or not that means recreating financial tools and services, but without middlemen, like you do in DeFi, which kind of, makes it more accessible for people and kind of democratizes the access to people all across the world can now access these financial tools. Or, on the other hand, then there's like digital fashion space. And decentralization here means anyone can participate, anyone can kind of be a designer, which is very different from the like closed off traditional fashion space where everything's kind of like kept private and secret and the normal person doesn't really have a way to participate. So I think it's really exciting. Like the decentralized creator economy, I really like how the rewards are actually going to designers and artists and not to some middlemen. So in the end, I think it's important because it democratizes access and it kind of makes you more free. You're not really bound by geography and you're open up to new opportunities and also like new friends across the world.
That's definitely awesome. And you're definitely touching on a very great point, especially the fact that, it allows accessibility for, different parts of the world. Now everybody can be a part, can be a part of the conversation. Other like talents can be seen, can also explore their talents. And I feel like it brings more creative value in a sense. So like speaking about Web3 and decentralization, I'm wondering what you think about the current state of social 2.0 platforms and social media in general, and how do you use it to make impact on your work, and what would you like to see change? I mean, I think we've spoken kind of like a lot about that, but if you want to share a bit more about that, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. I think I might be a bit biased when it comes to the current state of social media. I think a lot of it is in general, like working as a social media manager in previous jobs and everything. I just found it like really exhausting. And I think part of that is it's very centralized and it's all kind of about, monetizing people. They kind of just see the users as like, you're a metric, they can advertise to you, they can make money off of you. It's kind of like peak capitalism, I guess, but through the guise of like being social. However, I mean, I think this can change. And I think, people are really like waking up to this, seeing the problems with like data harvesting and how having this like centralized social media isn't necessarily good. I also think, there's a lot of like mental health issues that arise from that. It's not really great for anyone to be constantly bombarded with information in general, but I also think, platforms like Instagram have known for a really long time that these filters and these kind of algorithms that they're pushing on people really affects their audience, especially like young women, in a very negative way. But because it's very centralized and because they're making a lot of money off of it, they keep doing that. It's it's normal, and they just don't really care. So I'd like to see kind of a future social media that's a bit more decentralized, and it empowers the users instead of the companies behind it. And I like how we're kind of shifting that way, creators being able to actually like monetize their own content instead of I guess just kind of creating content for free and having the proceeds go to a social media platform. So I think there's a lot of like critiques that are happening right now, and it's kind of moving in this direction, which I'm very happy about. I'm excited to see what the future's like.
I love this.
Yeah. And do you use it for your work in particular?
Not anymore. I definitely I'm on Twitter for, I guess, work, but also now fun and community building. But I think for me now, it's kind of about just using social media for fun. I like the community aspect, but I think it's also really important to just take a break. I am one of those people who gets very wrapped up in always being on top of Twitter, on top of all of social media, all the updates and everything. So it's good to check out. I think everyone needs that, especially I want to tell everyone to get off of crypto Twitter for a weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an awesome advice. Thank you for sharing that.
It's almost like, when you are online, you're entering like a different kind of world, and you can get lost, like you said. And also, I think it's really important what you said about users actually being part of like building these platforms. And, now in Discord, like I see so many designer Discords where young people can now interact with the brands, or they also face these challenges and they want to also know, okay, it's time for kind of like a change, I think. And speaking about the future of social 3.0, and also we hear a lot right now about the metaverse, and I want to know your thoughts on it and how that maybe could impact your work positively, but also maybe the con side of it. And I'm sure you are big in the NFT space, aware of what's going on. So yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, for me, I'm still very like hopeful, I guess, about how the metaverse will turn out. I think there's kind of like dystopian path it could go down, but I am kind of trying to like focus on the positives and how it's kind of an opportunity to create something really cool, this kind of digital space where you can exist outside of the constraints of your, I guess, physical reality. But for me, I guess in the digital fashion work that I'm doing at the Fabricant, as people start spending more time in virtual spaces, they'll need to express themselves in these realms. So, I think through clothing is important, but also through the way you look. You're not really bound to any, I guess, specific identities. And there's not really these like binaries that you kind of face in the normal world. Many brands are, I guess, trying to get a hold of the metaverse right now, but I'm hoping that there will be, I'm hoping that will be, that people will just do it in a responsible way, if that makes sense. I think it's really important to consider like people and who will actually be participating in it when building the metaverse. It's a really unique opportunity to build something very different from the world we live in, with different power structures. And I think we need to be very cognizant of people and their health and needs when building these new digital communities and really make this a priority. I think, a good Web3 experience is almost more about the community and the people than the tech and design. And I think the same thing kind of goes for the metaverse.
Exactly. Mental health is a big thing that we should also consider, and people that are younger than us, who are growing into this space. But I remember when I first saw like VR filters, like I tried DressX, and I was so fascinated by the fact that now I can dress up how I want, and I don't have to, buy 100 different clothes, but maybe I can put my own designs as filters. And it's something I'm still, thinking, okay, what is the coolest project out there right now? Because some clothes might not fit right now. It's still not like 100%, but the potential is so big, and I can really see this being a part of our lives on a daily basis. It's really interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think I really love digital fashion and kind of the like creative expression of identity you get to explore with it. You can kind of take it to the next level by like trying different hairstyles, accessories, and clothing. And it doesn't even need to like, I guess, work within the laws of physics. You can have a dress and wear it in the digital world. Whereas, if you wore it in the real world, gravity would not let that happen. So I just think it's really cool. It kind of, you can be whoever or whatever you want to be in the metaverse. And that's really exciting and special.
So we've had a lot of amazing guests so far on NewForum, and a lot of them come with their own ideas and I'd say perspectives on the metaverse and where we're at the moment. Some say we're already experienced in the metaverse. Others say, well, we're looking forward to what it's going to be. So where do you stand? Do you think that we're already in it or it's yet to come? And yeah, I'm just curious to know your opinion on that.
I think it's still yet to come at this stage.
Okay.
Right now we're in kind of like a metaverse light scenario. Okay. But I'm definitely feeling, now, like my dad has VR goggles and everything, and it's like
cool.
in his little world.
Have you tried them?
Avatar and going on. I have.
I still haven't tried them, but I'm excited to try actually.
How is it like once you're in that world and then you finally come to the real world? Do you feel is there any like weird feeling, surreal feeling, transition from both worlds?
I always feel like you're kind of like snapping out of a dream or something. It's like you've woken up and you take the goggles off. It's really cool. It's very realistic, especially like the gaming side of things. But I think it is awesome, like seeing other people use that, and also like the older generations getting into it too. I think that's important. And I think we're moving in that direction. I don't think it's here yet, but
I see. Okay. So, I guess, a lot of the concerns comes around the fact that people can get like sort of stuck in this world, and maybe lose touch with reality. And that's most of the concerns, at least I've been hearing when I have conversations about the metaverse. What do you think about that?
I think that is like a worry. I think social media has already done that to some extent. Right. I'm like at that age, I guess, where you're kind of like, you grew up with social media, but you didn't have it when you were like a child. Right. Whereas now, people who are like 7 or 8 years old have all their like TikTok, Instagram, which is really different. Like I can't say how that would have affected me if I had that at that age. Similarly to like, I can't really say how it would be if you're living in VR worlds from a very young age. I do think it'll be really interesting to see like people my age will be, climbing a mountain or something in the VR space and feeling like we're doing a really cool job. And then there will be like a 6-year-old kid just like running up and doing backflips and stuff. And we'll be kind of that like awkward age gap is already widening. But yeah, I can't really say like how that's going to affect mental health, how that's going to affect people's ability to relate or talk to each other. I'm hoping for the best. I think it could kind of, it could go either way, but yeah, I think it's very much the creators are going to have a big play in that. So that's why I think it's just really important to keep it very people focused.
Right. I like that. People focused, I guess, is the way to go. And yeah, I think once it's fully realized, I think it's yet to be fully realized, and so once we get there, I think we will be able to sort of face the pros and cons and actually deal with them, as it comes. And, Gen Z people are usually, I think they're the consumers of this space mostly, and they care a lot about sustainability and inclusivity and all the good stuff. So, hopefully that mindset will be carried throughout.
It's just crazy to see how young they are right now and getting all of it. And it's like almost you see like a 12-year-old kid getting into crypto or like 17 years old and they, are so smart and so quick with it. It's so crazy to me to see that. I think there's a lot of potential for, like you said, creativity and actually doing something you're maybe passionate about or working on creative projects. And I think that's what everyone of our generations loves to do, No,
it's really exciting. I think there's just so many different possibilities now. And I really do like how it's more and more possible and encouraged. I think Web3 has done a really good job about getting Gen Z involved too. it's definitely like, it's a time where you have a voice even as a young person, which is really cool.
Exactly, definitely.
So I'm wondering, Isa, because you worked in DeFi, and I hear a lot from my coworkers about DeFi, and I'm really interested in the space, but maybe you could say about your experience, like what is your biggest learning from DeFi, and what do you like about it, and touch a bit on that. I would really love to know, and I think our audience would also love to know a bit more about DeFi, because it's kind of from all of the different things that you can tap into, DeFi is probably one of the more complex ones, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I guess so. I really like DeFi because it's very like open and accessible and transparent, and it's there all the time. At this point, I kind of like only use DeFi services besides like when I need to actually use fiat. But for me, it was really, really helpful because when I moved to Germany, it was like extremely difficult to even set up a bank account. It took like 3 months, and I had to fill out all this paperwork and like go back and forth in the mail. And it also cost money every time I'd visit like a bank teller. I'd have to pay. It's like a 12 euro fee. DeFi, you just sign up. There's no KYC process. You can borrow money, you can deposit, you can earn interest all immediately, and it just puts your money really back into your control. And I think that's a kind of freedom that you don't really realize that you want until you've had it. But it is very nice when you know that that you're making something of your money. It's never sleeping. If you want to deposit in a DeFi protocol, the interest that you'll get back on average is like way higher than what you get if you just left it in a traditional savings account. If you need to take out a loan for student loans or like to buy a laptop or something, it's immediate. It's very easy. You don't need to complete all this paperwork. And I just think it's a really like kind of accessible financial system. On the other hand, I know people who really don't want to be their own bank. There are a lot of problems that come with that. If you lose your private keys, or if something goes wrong, or you send it some funds to the wrong address, then there's no like customer service rep you can call up, and it's all on you. So I think like there's kind of two sides. I think it's important to have other options outside of DeFi, but for people who want to be able to participate in finance like that and really have control over their own finances, I think that's really special. And also for people in emerging markets where the local like currencies may be very volatile, and stable coins become very useful. And it's just a way for everyone to be able to participate in the financial system free of barriers, it's really cool.
Yeah, I think the thing that me, and also I think we talk a lot about at the NewCoin Foundation is, how that will impact creators and how people now can maybe stack into each other's pool. Or these are like the kind of solutions that we are working on, social tokens, and how, because you have the average creator, or if you're a designer or musician, whatever, but there's not really a lot of gain that you can get from posting or from, there's platforms like Patreon and, OnlyFans coming up, but there's still like some kind of refinement that can be made. And I think DeFi, and also, the ability to have everything in smart contracts and things like that, can make royalties flow way more easier for creators. That is the part that gets me the most excited, to have decentralization within the finances, of creators, and have a more equal kind of balanced out system, I guess.
No, that's really cool. I think, New Life's very exciting to me because it's, really focuses on not only rewarding creatives, but also connecting people together. And I think that's just like a very special ecosystem.
Yes,
and
that's
kind of like where I hope everything's headed.
Yeah, that's what we really focus on, sustainability, creativity, how we can make things easier for creators, and how we can connect the dots from developers to creators to investors, so they can all build this ecosystem and benefit from each other. So we really have the long-term vision of Web3 within our company, and that's what got us here. That's what got us excited. That's why Salimi and I do what we do. And that's why we love to connect with people like you who are, contributing to the space.
Exactly.
Oh, thank you. It's awesome to connect with you all too. I'm really excited about New Life and everything you all are doing.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, we're just really excited about, the real creative economy, creative value in the end, because there's just so much happening in the crypto space and there's so much happening in the real world. And we're like really, really excited about how to merge those. And I think that's what really excites me the most, to create real economic value. And like Joy said, the whole accessibility, inclusivity, and sustainability, we're like so big on that. And just making things easier for creators, because especially like fashion designers, we care a lot about, or mostly care a lot about the aesthetic side of things. And when you think about digital, they freak out like, what, so it's really great that, we like even having these type of conversations and going through things. I think it's a great way for upcoming fashion designers and, other creators to see that it is possible, and it serves as some sort of an educative tool, you sharing your experience and the way you're excited and your enthusiasm is like quite, I'd say, contagious, and I love it. And I'm actually, so for instance, let's say we have a young fashion designer audience, right? Like, oh, somebody listening to you right now who is trying to step into the digital Web3 space. How if you had to tell them how NFTs and DeFi works, like in a few words, could you like maybe explain to them, those who are frightened by the word tech and digital but want to step into the space? How would you say NFTs and DeFi works in terms of like in regards to fashion?
Yes. So I think DeFi in regards to fashion is that's still something people are really working on.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of like solutions that are kind of popping up out there, which is really exciting. But essentially DeFi is it's similar to like financial tools and services that you get normally, but there's no middleman involved. And then NFTs, I think, are NFTs and DeFi are, I guess, merging quite a lot at the moment. But NFTs are very cool because you can, you can prove kind of scarcity, you can prove authenticity, and you can also prove ownership. So if, for example, there was a like digital dress or something that you go and you buy on OpenSea, then you own that. You can see like how many there are, how rare it is, what traits it has, etc. And I think, we'll kind of see how that will merge with DeFi, but I think NFTs in general as a like collateral in DeFi would be really cool. So basically you'd be able to, if you have this valuable digital dress that has value in the metaverse, it's a kind of currency, I guess. You could put that up and then borrow against it to take out a loan for something, for example. The other thing I think is really cool is seeing digital art or digital fashion tokenized as NFTs. And then behind that, there's a currency that's being staked. So the NFT is actually kind of accruing value because it's earning interest in a DeFi protocol. And there's all sorts of really cool things you can do with that. Like you can redirect the interest to the person who created it so that the creator's constantly getting rewarded no matter how many times the piece is sold on to different people. Yeah, I just think there's a lot of different things you can do, a lot of things that are kind of like being tested or different projects are working on right now. But I think we'll definitely kind of see a convergence of these spaces.
That's awesome. It's really nice to hear from you in your own words, as you are in the space and you are actually like doing stuff there. So I think it's great that we heard things in your words. And yeah, that's awesome. And
sorry, just quickly adding to that. Also, I love that you pointed out the shift from the creator usually is really disconnected from the fan or kind of, trying to sell their products or whatever. But now actually the fan can have ownership with the creator, they can earn with the creator together. And now they can build like a powerful, strong DAO or community together. So that's really like a shift within Web3. I think that's really a potential and really awesome.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. Yeah, because the current social 2.0 platforms, you most people don't even know who's following them, and there's no like incentives. You might have like 2,000 followers, you post an amazing work you worked on and just one person likes it, you know, and then you're like, what, you know, that can be discouraging, but also there's no like proper like feedback, you know, thing going on there. And you don't really, there's no like, it's not like community centered in a way in terms of like value, in terms of like the creative value and one's work and the quality or whatever that a person is doing. You know, it's kind of based on hype and what is sort of catchy and not necessarily, you know, the great work the person is doing. So I'm really like, I think Joy, you touched on a really great point. And I was listening to an interview and the guest was like, it seems like there's so much value, more value in terms of like internet value, online value versus real life. Like we're getting to a point where there's more value there. And then she also touched on the fact that in our real world, we own our, like, I own my laptop that I'm using, I own the dress that I'm wearing, but like online, we don't get to experience these type of things, right? And this is what Web3 and decentralization is sort of like freeing or allowing to happen. And I found that really, really like cool. But even though I struggle with the fact that why should like sort of like the online community have more value than real life community? I usually struggle with that, to be honest, as a person, because I care a lot about real life interactions and stuff like that. And I know that, you know, technologies also bring a lot of value, but yeah, it really like stood out for me because I personally want to have a really great balance between the two, you know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I'd love to hear.
No, that's really interesting, actually. Yeah, that's really true. I hadn't really thought of it in that way, but it is very true. Like, yeah, there's a lot more value being created in these digital spaces now, and it is cool that now you can have this digital ownership. But I think, I guess just kind of like personally, you know, I really like the human interaction element, and I'm definitely, you know, like someone who likes to unplug and everything. But I think it's really cool. I like the community building aspects that are happening. But I think there are some, you know, issues in Web3 as well in terms of, I guess, this kind of very like hyped ownership of certain digital collectibles, and then kind of the culture that forms around that. I think, you know, it's really interesting. Like everyone all of a sudden started changing their Twitter profile pics to these pictures, like a Bored Ape, or like an NFT that they have. And it's kind of like being in grade school again. It's just like, oh, you don't have the latest whatever, like you're not in this club anymore. But I do think that's another like really cool part about kind of being able to like fractionalize ownership, so that you know, a bunch of people can own a fashion piece or a piece of art. And it's more about democratizing this access to these digital worlds and digital ownership. I think that's very interesting. But yeah, I guess just kind of have to see how it goes. I really hope it's not just the focus isn't so much on owning things, but more on the community aspect and actually, you know, being part of something.
This is something that I got really disappointed with in the beginning when I saw all these big NFT drafts, you know, and I was like, wait a minute, like, isn't it about like, you know, like it kind of reflected the art market how it is today. And I was like, oh, we kind of don't want that, but I hope it will balance out in the future. And I love what Salimi touched on, you know, with the balance between our virtual life and real life, because we're still humans. We need to be around humans, and creativity as well is something that we get from being with one another and learning from one another, you know, not just online, but also in the real life. And I think one of our members of the community said it really well. He said, we can meet online and we can connect online, and then we meet in real life and we have an NFT gallery moment, or we, you know, like there's potential. But for me, it's still amazing to think, wow, I have the ability to connect with all these different people from all around the world that I might never met without being part of the space, you know. That's what I really love. So Isa, I think there's so many great insight with this talk already. I wanted to know, what are you looking forward to in the future? Are there any personal things that you're like, oh, this is what I'm really excited about within this space, or a project, or something that you're looking forward to?
So I guess I've only been at the Fabricant for 1 week now, but I'm actually really, really excited. Soon they'll be launching the Fabricant Studio. And this is kind of like a digital fashion platform where anyone can create, design, and co-create and trade and wear their own fashion designs. So this is really cool for me because it's kind of like the opposite of what the traditional fashion industry is, where there are gatekeepers and it's really difficult to participate in the industry.
Right.
So this kind of allows anyone to be a fashion designer in the metaverse, which is really cool. I mean, if just because you can't like design a digital textile doesn't mean that you can't, choose different patterns, color it, and kind of create your own thing or co-create with other people. And that's what I'm very excited about. Definitely want to, create some pieces with other people and wear them in the metaverse.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
That sounds super exciting.
That is super exciting. And now I was thinking, like, especially now that, with all the how do you say it, the effects of the corona and all that, with the fashion supply chain, a lot of things have been frozen, and, there's not so much activity happening in that space like it used to. But, we can still produce, we can still design. You don't need a middleman to be able to, get the texture you want or the fabric you want. You can create all of that digitally. And I think that's awesome. And I'm excited for you, and your journey, your new journey, and what you're going to be doing. And we will be following your work.
Can't wait to see what they come up with. Can't wait to see.
Totally.
I'm so excited for the designs and the VR.
Likewise.
So excited.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you all as well. I'm very, very excited about everything.
Aww, thank you.
Okay. So one last thing, maybe you would like to share a key takeaway with the audience, or some advice, maybe how they can get involved within the space. Something that you want to give to them to finish off.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you want to get involved, I think the best way is really just to reach out to people. We're still like we're in a very lucky place where, like if you DM someone on Twitter, a lot of people will get back to you. And I think that's been one of the best things for me. I've met a lot of friends that way, just kind of getting to know more people in Web3. But I think if you're like someone who's, a designer, developer, really anyone just looking to get into Web3, find people you like, reach out to them. Everyone's actually very, very open to talking and meeting new people usually. And I think you can get a lot of insights and advice on how to kind of, take the next steps into Web3 that way. I would also say DAOs are a very good tool. And I think, if you're interested in something, but maybe don't know how you would fit into that space, joining a DAO and kind of getting accustomed to people and how it works and different ideas is a really cool way to go about it. And I'm very happy that we have all these decentralized communities now. It's really fun.
Yes, endless creativity, and there's so many chances that we can take right now. I'm really happy and grateful for that. Thank you so much, Isa, for joining us today. Could you maybe tell us where our listeners can find you, maybe on Twitter, so they can keep up with you and everything that is going on?
Yeah, for sure. My Twitter is just at Isa Kivlighan, which is my name. I'm sure you'll be able to find it somewhere.
Love that.
Yes. But thank you all so much for having me. It's been really fun.
Thank you so much, Isa. We love your smile and your energy. Like I said before, it is contagious, and you have definitely inspired a lot of our audience today. Thank you. Thank you all so much for being a part of today's forum. If you want to get more involved in our community, make sure to follow us on our social platforms. You can also join our private Telegram group and connect directly with myself and Joy. We will put all the link in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. If you guys have any questions, don't forget to put it in the comments. See you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you, Isa. Thank you, Salimi. See you in the next one.
Thank you.